Formula One Philosophy is back for the Brazilian Grand Prix recap. We have a lot to talk about today, so we're going to get into it pretty quickly. As always, f1philosophypod@gmail.com. If you have any questions to ask us over email, f1_philosophy at Instagram and f1philosophy at YouTube. This episode is just a full recap like we've been doing all the other days because, like I tell the girls at work, Daddy's a little busy right now.
Wow.
The lawsuit's coming.
Yeah.
Sean, how are you doing?
I'm all right. Busy. Trying to figure out how I claw my way out of this arrangement. But until then, I guess I'm doing okay.
So, like you're saying, your life? Because, like, Sean, if it's your life, let's have an intervention right now and tell you all the things you have to live for. But if it's...
No, Nick.
Okay.
I like myself.
Okay.
I'm perfectly fine with my life.
Okay.
I'm regretting hosting a podcast with you.
Okay. Uh-huh.
I thought that the implication was clear.
Understand. Yes. Okay. Thanks, Sean. This is off to a smooth...
Anytime, Nick.
Oh, boy. What did Hunter S. Thompson say? How did he want to go at the end of it all? It was like a bottle of pills or something, or a gun or something, or a revolver, 38.
Well,
yeah.
He shot himself, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you're bringing that up, but...
Well, it's Vegas, the next Grand Prix after Brazil, so we're probably going to have a few Hunter S. Thompson, what's the word I'm thinking of here? References at that point.
Okay, sure.
Banter isn't our strong suit, apparently. We used to be really good at this.
I blame you.
It is my fault.
You're a father now. Your brain is starting to decay.
Yeah, I've noticed lately. I had this whole intro and monologue in my head, and I got distracted by my daughter, and now it's gone. It's completely gone. So
that is how that works.
Yeah. Anyways, lot to recap. The sprint, Lando Norris dominates sprint qualifying, dominates the sprint, wins the full 8 points from, who came second? Damn. Dad brain, real.
Antonelli.
Antonelli came second in both races.
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Kimi Antonelli in both races. Oscar Piastri missing from the podium because he spun out in the sprint.
Mm-hmm.
Again, kind of acting like Norris lately. I texted you as soon as the weekend was over. I said, when did Oscar become Lando? Lando then dominates the qualifying from when we looked like Piastri was about to get pole for a brief second and then screwed up his final lap, much like Norris. And then Lando Norris sort of dominates the Grand Prix. We're going to get into it as to what we think happened there. And comes out with max points this weekend, 49 points ahead of Max, 24 ahead of Oscar. Good job to him. I'll talk more about what I really think after I ask you. What do you think? Do you think this is over? Do you think Lando's just on fire, or do you think it's just a good couple of races for him?
It's not over.
Oh.
We still got plenty of time.
Elaborate.
We have 3 races plus a sprint. There's still plenty of points on offer. There's still plenty of points for Lando to fuck it up. We'll see what happens. What we've seen the last couple weekends is that there is no real established order. Right? We've seen Piastri swing from best in class this year to a rookie.
Yeah.
We've seen Lando go from inconsistent garbage to Max Verstappen-esque. And we've seen Verstappen go from low midfield to podiums from the pit lane.
Wild.
So at this point, I'm not willing to make any assumptions as to how it's going to end.
That's a really good way to look at it. It's. Do you think it's anything like 2010 where the burden of the title leadership, like the leader of the points tally, it's just too big of a burden for anyone to have, and it has to be decided on the final day.
It's an odd way to put that, but sure.
It's because in 2010 you saw like every time someone took the lead, next race they lost it. You know what I mean? It was like Fernando had, I think, with this many races to go, the championship lead and ended up losing it to Webber briefly, and then Webber lost it back to Alonso, and then Vettel took it on the final day. And I wonder if we're going to see something like that.
I don't think we will. I think it will probably come down to the last race, but it will be one of these, probably 16 different permutations on how Piastri can win it and 25 different for how Max Verstappen can win it type of deals, right? So I think Lando's probably going to stick it out on top just because I don't see the three of them being too separated in the next three races. So it's not going to be large swings in points, but it'll be enough to kind of bring everybody right within a handful of points.
For 49 ahead of Max, though, I think there's going to have to be a DNF if Max still has a chance. DNF from Lando. That's tough without a DNF from him. Or like a 7th to 10th.
And that's just it. If he's in the lower end of the points, there's a chance. But he would have to get multiple of those.
Yes.
So it's tricky, but we'll see.
I like where your head's at because Vegas is the next race. And Lando Norris in both of those races, DNF after I think it was lap 2 or 3 in 2023. And 2024, I think he came 6th or 7th behind Max and just was not on it all weekend. There's a good possibility of that again. I know it's like we said last year, small sample size of Vegas. It's kind of hard to make a trend line there. But the McLarens do seem to struggle there.
Yeah. I don't know why, but they have. So we'll see. I'm just looking now because we're a week out. I'm wondering what the weather's like in Vegas. I mean, it's currently 24 degrees.
But the nights are where you got to look.
Yeah.
Because it's still...
Well, they're what? It's almost 6 o'clock there.
Yeah. So the sun's probably setting soon.
Yeah. A lot of rain this week.
Oh, wow. Wouldn't that be interesting? A wet, cold race. Peter Windsor wrote an article almost immediately after the Brazilian Grand Prix saying Lando's driving like a champion. And I think it's interesting that they didn't ever have that article ready when Oscar was dominating the field earlier this season. So I think it's safe to assume that you don't think that's the case just yet.
Was that a question to me or?
It was more to, elicit a comment off of you. Do you think it's way too soon? I just thought it was funny. And I thought I'd bring out a conversation out of us. But apparently...
I don't necessarily agree with your comment because we did see plenty of that. We did see plenty of articles about, wow, Oscar Piastri really pulled it out this year and is championship material. You may not have seen it because your blinders for this nonsense British conspiracy you have.
It's elaborate but real.
Sure. You getting that stuck in your head doesn't allow you to see anything but the nonsense that you think everybody's stroking Lando Norris. And to an extent, I agree, but let's be fair. We did see a lot of comments like that about Piastri earlier in the season. Maybe not in the same context, but a lot of the more, we didn't expect this from Piastri, and it does look like a championship drive.
Yeah, I think it was more hexing him. You know what I mean? It was more not well wishes. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It was articles about, wow, where did this come from? I wonder if he maintains it. Almost hoping he doesn't, because they knew that pace would have blown away the championship. That's how I saw it earlier in the season. This is more concrete. Everybody's like, he's the champion. I just thought that was something to comment, that they're getting the trophy ready for Lando, and I think let's shift gears, and I think that penalty that they gave to Oscar was a way to help influence the title, in my opinion. But what did you think of Oscar's penalty in the race?
I thought it was a bad call, but I understand why they gave it. I don't agree that he should have got a penalty. I think it was hard racing on the restart, and he very clearly did everything he could to avoid the collision once he realized it was going to happen. But he's limited on where he can go. There's a block wall on the inside of that corner, so he can't turn away from it. All he can do is try to slow down enough to not hit Antonelli. So it's unfortunate that it happened. I would like to see that be more of a racing incident type of situation that doesn't get penalized. But I believe the penalty came in because, yes, Oscar and Antonelli touched, and that had an impact on their restart. The unfortunate part is it forced Antonelli into Leclerc, who was an innocent bystander, and then ended up out of the race as a result of that. So that's where I think it became more so penalty worthy, because it did cause a collision and resulted in, let's say, an innocent driver DNFing as a result. So I wouldn't have given the penalty, but I can understand where it comes from.
Yeah, I think it's a case of the result warranting the harsh penalty, right? You and I have talked about how we want more of that, I guess, in a sense. I agree with you. I wouldn't have given a penalty. It's a racing incident any day of the week. We saw it in Austin, that Alonso didn't get a penalty for doing the exact same thing and worse. Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to say is that if you're going to give out penalties, give the harsh ones out to the ones that have the worst results. You and I talked about it in the past, like where was the massive penalty for Hamilton at Britain 2021, and it's like the harsher the result, the worse the penalty. But this is a lap 1 first corner type of thing, because it's a safety car after lap 1, and this is lap 6, and this is a restart. Any day of the week, that's a racing incident. But yes,
I agree. And just to screw your point, you started this by saying, in your mind, it's a penalty to help Lando, effectively. But just to play devil's advocate, maybe it was a penalty to help Ferrari. The Ferrari is the one that ended up getting taken out, Nick. Maybe it's a retaliatory penalty against McLaren for taking out the Ferrari, because we all know you don't touch Daddy Ferrari.
There's a lot of daddies going around Formula One these days.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay, you can look at it like that, but I just think if we look at throughout the year, in my mind, Silverstone penalty that shouldn't have happened to Piastri, penalty that's never going to happen again. The following race in Belgium, Piastri gets a track limits, almost knocks him out of sprint qualifying. It seems like every time Piastri tries to get momentum, there's a ridiculous penalty going his way, because that was a bold move for once. I think you finally saw some desperation in the way he raced, and yeah.
And it was a good move.
Yes.
And it would have been on, but I think also Antonelli potentially cut in early.
Correct.
Partially in defense, but also partially because Leclerc was there. So it was a ballsy move. I liked it, but it didn't work.
Well, Norris...
One thing I will say...
Go on. One thing you will say.
One thing I will say that kind of irritated me is what led to the safety car. Gabriel Bortoleto crashed out, but he didn't crash out on his own. He was forced off and basically pinned against the wall by our favorite Canadian, Lance Stroll. And what happened there? That
Yeah.
was forcing a driver wide and causing a collision. As far as I'm aware, he didn't get a penalty for it.
No, Daddy Stroll. Daddy's running around in Brazil with the samba
It's the
music.
same thing.
Yeah, sorry. I know, but you're right. Yeah.
It's two drivers fighting for position. One squeezes one into a DNF, and we get two different results. So it is a little frustrating because Bortoleto was alongside Stroll. Stroll should have checked his mirrors and just ran him into the wall. It was a gutsy move by Bortoleto, but you have to leave that gap because he's already alongside you. You can't cut him off like that. But Stroll got nothing for it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's inconsistency, and I don't really care about the Stroll and the Bortoleto thing because it didn't have an impact on the race per se. But it does go to show that two incidents, 10 minutes apart, and they're judged completely differently.
Well, this is where someone like me would say the FIA is in the bag for Lando.
Or they're just incompetent.
We've talked about that a lot.
Hanlon's razor, Nick.
I understand.
And you'd be surprised how incompetent people are these days.
I understand, but then you look at lap 1, turn 1, or turn 3 of Singapore, and Lando does and hits two drivers, one being his teammate. By some good maneuvering, Piastri doesn't get into the wall, and Lando has part of his wing sticking out the entire race, and not one penalty when you could have warranted two.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, at some level, when the driver is favored, when the driver is the golden boy, when the driver had declared himself the winner the previous year, I think when you have control of a sport, and this is a business, and you want to see him win, you make reality happen. We've talked about this. Don't believe what you see with your eyes, like in Orwell. Just believe what we tell you. We're being fair. We're being consistent. Everything's fine at the FIA. This is a penalty. Doesn't matter what, like we just pointed out two logical inconsistencies there. Both should have been penalties. And they're handing out penalties that first lap to Hamilton. To who else was it? I think it was Sainz too got a penalty. So what's going on there? Why is one not a penalty and the other isn't? And the other is. It's just, I think it's timely momentum killing penalties to stop Oscar, to help Lando cross the finish line. Because he hasn't been the best driver this year. Until these last two races, he has not been the best driver. If anything's been the fourth best driver.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can either beat them on the track or you can get help from the big daddy. And that's what I see. That's what I see in those moments. And I know you can respectfully disagree. And I do listen to what you say. And that's why I love talking to you about it. Because it does help me think. But my instinct is always going to be to say exactly that this is just biased to help the anointed one. So that's that.
Sure. And we've discussed this at length, so I don't think we need to really go into it anymore, but
no, it's okay. Yeah. We don't have
You're entitled to your opinion, even though it's wrong.
I just want one more comment. I think after seeing what we've seen this weekend in Brazil, it's safe to say that Hungary belonged to Oscar as well. That's another win I now think was taken away from him. And I'll explain why, because I don't see why McLaren pitted him the second time. They had committed to a one-stop strategy, and his engineer even said something interesting. Oscar's engineer, I think it was lap 39. Oscar's, or no, it was a little farther than that. I think it was lap 40-something. Oscar's a little worried about their one-stop. He's going to be on soft tires, I think, for 35 laps, which is tight. He says, I'm not optimistic about this strategy. And the engineer says, we think the tires will be fine towards the end. We think you'll be able to keep a decent race pace. And on top of that, you'll be helped by Verstappen. And I think that's interesting. I think it's interesting because Oscar would have had to have fought Lando and stayed behind Max the entire rest of the race. And I think Oscar's engineer's strategy, forget his name, was to not get Oscar to win. It was to help Max win to keep Lando from winning. I think that was the game plan originally. But I think they pitted Oscar to help Lando win. Because once Lando was behind Max, then it forced Red Bull's hand. Are you following me here? Sorry, I'm just making sure. I want to make sure I'm not just spouting out too many different things.
I mean, I think I follow you.
Yeah. Max had to pit because Oscar pit. Otherwise, Max could have stayed out, finished the rest of the race, and won from the pit lane. Because he had enough of a gap after Lando's second stop. I think it was 7.5 seconds with 20 laps to go. But I think because Oscar pit, it forced Red Bull to make a move and go on the offense instead of hoping that they could hold on the defense. Which tells us what, Sean?
That they're favoring Lando, I guess, is what you're trying to get at?
Or that they've picked their driver. Not necessarily favor, but in order to keep a win, they immediately picked a driver. They picked a number one. After spending the whole weekend, Zach Brown saying, I would rather lose the title than pick a driver.
Mm-hmm.
This was Oscar's Hail Mary, like in Hungary. And you didn't allow it to happen like you did to Lando. So now I think Oscar deserves Hungary too. I was always saying 3 wins they stole from Oscar. It's now 4. Australia, Austria, Silverstone, and Hungary. Through horrible team orders and bad penalties. Oscar shouldn't have pit. Or do you think something else?
I don't think Oscar's strategy would have worked if he hadn't done that last pit stop. Max Verstappen was another story, but I'm trying to remember what the strategy was, but I don't believe it would have worked for him if he didn't do that.
Oscar went 36 on the original mediums, 36 laps on the original mediums, so that was 35 on softs.
No, that wasn't going to work.
Probably not, but if you can hold off Lando for a few laps, you finish 3rd or 4th anyways, but Lando doesn't catch Max, is what I'm getting at. I think that was the game plan for Oscar and his team. It was not them win, it was Lando not win. Keep the title fight close.
Yeah. I don't know. To be honest, my recollection of the race is kind of hazy. The connection I had was absolutely terrible. It took me, 4 hours to watch that race?
Yeah. Sorry, dude.
So it's hard for me to actually piece together what I saw and didn't see. So if he was trying to go 35 laps on a soft tire, it was never going to work. It's my belief that the soft tire is better than people thought it was. We've seen before a couple times this year where someone sits on that soft tire for way more laps than they believe it could last. I think Leclerc did this in one of the more recent races. Just kind of sat out there and circulated, and then the tire came back to life. It's almost like it has to go through a full heat soak and then a management period, and then it's back to life. And I think Verstappen, with his strategy, probably could have gone one less stop, right? Pushed out the medium tire longer. Piastri could have probably gone longer on the soft than he did, but I don't think it was going to last 35 laps. So Max probably could have won without that additional stop. Oscar, I'm not sure he could have made it. I think that would have ended in a DNF for him if he tried to push it that far.
Yeah, or he waits to build enough of a gap that he doesn't get undercut by Russell and Antonelli. Which, yeah, the point is he finishes that position either way, I think, if he has to pit at the end. But if he stays out longer and helps Max and has a McLaren standoff, there's the potential of them crashing into each other or Max winning. And I think that's why McLaren pulled the trigger and picked Norris in that moment. Because it's a zero-sum game is what I'm getting at. He either stays out and has a hard time, has to slow down, finishes 5th. Or he pits, finishes 5th. I think he finished 4th. Yeah, he finished 5th. So why not stay out when that was the original plan? Why not try staying out? I think it's just interesting.
Yeah, sure.
Let's talk about Max. Unless you have anything else you want to add about Piastri.
No, I think I'm good with that one.
Starts from the pit lane after an atrocious qualifying. They were off all weekend. And this is a testament to the RB21 that just out of nowhere it will drop a turd. Out of nowhere they will just find a weekend that they are just awful. And Max starts from the pit lane after changing his setup against Parc Fermé rules. And interestingly enough, and this adds to your the title isn't over, I think it was alluded that he added a new engine and they tuned it to the highest possible spec, which explains the charge to the field and the absolutely like scorching lap times all race.
Mm-hmm.
We might have a Hamilton at the end of 2021 situation with Max, which is very interesting. But anyway, starts from the pit lane because of that and finishes third. Unbelievable. Like, this is a championship. These are the championship winning drives that Norris hasn't had all season, or even Piastri for that matter. Just based on what he's done this season, he's been the best driver far and out, I think. But what did you think of the pit lane to third performance?
Yeah, so it's like you said, they tried something in qualifying, and it didn't work. And what they tried was basically a setup that Yuki was on in the sprint that seemed to make an improvement in the sprint race for him. So Max took a gamble and said, okay, yeah, sure, let's try it. But I don't know why he would have done that, because we all know he doesn't drive like a normal human being. And that's the result. The first time he's been out in Q1 on merit in his career.
Wild.
So that didn't work. So I'm sure he went back to the garage and said, well, fuck that shit. I'm starting from the back anyway. May as well start from the pit lane, make all the changes and put it back to where it was. And, we're not going to get a penalty for an engine change? Sure. And dial it up. New engine all the way. Because I'm sure you know, but we can no longer do changeable engine modes in qualifying.
Yes.
Right? So they can't qualify in a party mode and then dial it back for the race. Whatever they qualify on, they have to use. But that no longer applied to Max because he was already starting from the pit lane. So, fresh engine, dial it all the way up and let him have it. And that's what he did, and hey, it worked. Now, I don't think that's a loophole that's going to get exposed very often, because I don't think 19 of the 20 drivers are willing to put themselves on pit lane to do that charge. But in this case, it made for a spectacular race. I want to say at least 50% of the positions Max made were legitimate on-track passes.
Yeah.
So it was a good strategy for him. He seems to love Brazil anyway. So why not put on an overtaking clinic at the same time?
And before we get into his pit strategy, I think, he's right. He does love this course. Dominated last year with a bad car in the wet, and probably should have won here. Let's be honest. It's just another case, like I said, of Red Bull just fumbling wins that they have no business fumbling. Like, you're right. Why would they think Yuki's setup was the way to go? I just just you saying that makes me go, oh my God, why gamble at this point? I understand Max was uncomfortable in the sprint qualifying and in the sprint, but going backwards is never looking behind at his teammate is never the answer.
Yeah, it's a little unfair, because that's something they have done elsewhere this season with some success.
Okay.
So Yuki, and the team backs this up, Yuki seems to have a really good technical feedback to the team from let's say a more realistic driving standpoint. So Max knows what he likes, but there are times when that isn't going to get him what he wants. So Yuki's feedback throughout the year has been beneficial in some of these situations, and he has made a step forward by doing that. So it's likely more so along those lines that they thought, let's Yuki showed a stepped improvement, and here's the feedback to say why. So let's do that to Max's car. And this time it didn't work. And keep in mind, the track this year was absolutely abysmal. The weather did not cooperate at all, and the track was just greasy. It was relatively cold for the first part of the weekend, and rain, but not significant amounts of rain until it was, which is a weird way to say it, but it's what it is. And they've grooved the track to try and drain water faster because it's an old track and it doesn't tend to drain very well. And that's what we saw in the sprint race. The way those serrated curbs are done down the hill, water pools in the serrations and then throws it back onto the track as people run over the curbs, right? So the track for up until qualifying, basically, GP qualifying, was just a greasy mess. So it could have just been that the car wasn't behaving because the track itself was too greasy. And then when it actually gripped up, Max had what it took, but it didn't really grip up until Q3.
Yeah. Yeah, by virtue of Lando leading the race, he pushed that water, the sprint race, he pushed that water onto the track too by taking the extra curb and just made a mess of for three drivers, to add to your point.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
which is not Lando's fault.
No. No, I'm just saying, like, without realizing it, I think George Russell said he put a Mario Kart banana on the track. And yeah,
I didn't hear that, but yeah, that is what it was.
It was, he earned that spot. And then I think that's probably what, without him like accidentally causing Oscar to go out. So that's interesting. I didn't realize the track was a mess all of qualifying. I was watching at work. But then I guess that does explain why Behrman was at the top of Q2. I thought it was just merit, but I guess it was just luck.
I would disagree with that.
No, I know. Give him his flowers. So then, I think you've already alluded to it. So then you think there was no good reason for Red Bull to pit Max a second time and go on the offense, so to speak. They should have kept him out and gone and held off on the defense, and he would have won.
I don't even know that it would have had to be defensive. I think Max had the pace to do it, period.
Wow.
But I don't have the data, so.
Lando was on it. Like, to give credit to Lando, he was on it, and I think maybe it forced Red Bull's hand. They thought there's not enough laps left to hold them off, and it is very hard to defend through the Senna S's and then through turn 3 and 4. So they said, okay, we might as well just push it all now while we have the chance. But I think 7.5 seconds with 20 laps to go, and like you said earlier, the tires might come alive later in the race. Why not just try it? Like they said, they had nothing to lose. You saw on the radio, we have nothing to lose to just push the tires now to go after Russell and Antonelli. Well, you had nothing to lose holding the lead against Lando.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wanted you to, if you want to comment on that.
Sorry. I'm not sure I followed that.
I'm just saying, like, I'm saying if Red Bull's idea was we have nothing to lose, just push your tires to catch Russell and Antonelli, why not have the mentality of we have nothing to lose so we can hold off Lando in the lead and win the race from the pit lane?
Yeah, and I think the only thing that stopped them from doing that is they genuinely did not believe he could get to the end on those tires. Right? So it's a tough call because when was he leading the race?
It's like lap 51.
Right. So he still had 20-something laps to do at that point, or 20 laps exactly. So it's in that range of doable, but it's then I'm struggling to find the example. I'm sure there's been a couple where someone stays out too long and is in a great position and then falls back through the pack. drastically.
Happened quite a
Probably
few.
an Alonso.
Happened to Leclerc at Hungary. Happened to Max a couple times in 2021.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's what they're trying to avoid, right? So they made a choice, and it ended up with him being P3, which can't really be mad at from the pit lane.
No, I guess not. It's a shame. It's going to be very hard for them to claw back the title now. And I think like if you believed you could do it, which it sounded like they did, you go all in from track position, from first. Because Norris hasn't got past Max all season, like in that position. So you make Lando try. Like you make Lando go for it, and you finish second instead of third.
And I'll put it out there that Lando probably did the least overtaking of anybody in this race.
Mm.
You know, there were times he didn't lead every race. He fell, the pit stops put him back in the pack. But I want to say most of the places he made up were due to pit stops. I can't recall seeing any real significant overtaking moves. Right? Sure, back markers and slower cars that he dropped behind during the pit stop would have been relatively easy. But we didn't see him battle anybody, really.
No.
So that's a good point. If Max had stayed out in front, Lando may not have been able to pass him. Just like what we talked about with Russell being incompetent when it comes to overtaking and needing to whine to the team to let him pass Antonelli.
Yeah, Lando was helped by his team, them pitting Oscar, and helped by Red Bull, I think, being scared by what could have been a paper tiger in Lando Norris, who was doing really good. Like, he was setting great lap times. He was ahead. Like, he was up 6 seconds before the first rounds of pit stops. We got to give him his due. It's just make him earn it. I think that's what we're trying to say. Red Bull should have tried to make him earn it. Put him to work.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
I want to talk about one more thing, and then I'll give the floor to you. After Ferrari's disaster weekend, again, Ferrari chairman John Elkann comes out and says, from Bahrain, or I think he came home to Milan at this point, because in Bahrain it was the WEC season finale, and Ferrari wrapped up both titles. So I'm not sure how that works, just as an aside. It's the car number title and the constructors, right? So like car, whatever it was, 50 or something, won the driver's title, and then Ferrari won the constructors, right? For WEC?
Yeah, because you have 3 drivers on a car.
Yes.
Right, so you're not giving out driver's titles. You're giving out titles to the car and the team that runs it.
Okay.
But it's a little more complicated than that because there are manufacturer teams and there are privateer teams, and depending on how the teams are structured, they give points differently in different championships. I'm not fully up to speed on it, but it is a little more complicated, let's say.
Point is, Ferrari won. And John Elkann, after seeing that unity, seeing that excellence that Ferrari used to have, comes back to Milan and says, my drivers, referring to Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, need to stop talking and start winning. We have great engineers and a great organization. We should be winning more. They should be talking less. That's me paraphrasing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I will say your paraphrasing is better than most of the coverage I've seen on that, but yes.
Oh, thank you. What do you think of that?
I think John Elkann needs to stop talking. We don't hear from him much, but when we do, it's fucking nonsense. And I think someone needs to remind him that he's not a Ferrari, he's an Agnelli.
And he's barely an Agnelli at that. Anyways, he's on the right track. It's just like everything Ferrari, he's right for the wrong reasons, or right in the wrong context.
I don't know how you can claim he's right.
He's starting to step in the right direction. I'll say it that way.
In what sense?
If he's finally throwing Leclerc under the bus, he's finally recognizing that the two drivers, the driver that he's worshipped for 7 years now, is not who we thought he was. We've talked about this a million times. If he's starting to realize that, he's stepping in the right direction. He's saying, you guys sit here and you drive and you complain to the media about this car, which they should, but in his eyes, the car's perfect. So why are you complaining when you offer no constructive criticism, both of you? If he's starting to finally recognize and realize that about Leclerc, he's right in the right direction. He's still completely wrong. This organization is a clusterfuck. Vasseur was supposed to bring unity. Leclerc was supposed to be a focal point. Then Hamilton, and neither of them are. So yeah, he's still completely wrong. It's just if he's starting to recognize that, he's sending the team in the right direction. That's what I think. Your thoughts?
Fair. I can't disagree with that.
Maybe this whole talk about this season, about Charles shopping out his contract, trying to get to another team for 2027, maybe there's more to it. Maybe he's been told you only have one or two more chances. And maybe they're finally feeling it's finally safe for people in Ferrari to attack the Golden Boy, Charles Leclerc.
It's only safe for them to attack the Golden Boy because the Golden Boy is now attacking the unattackable in Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep that in mind. Right? Because up until this season, really, yeah, Leclerc made some comments, but this season he has been very, very much more vocal about the car's problems than his own. So it's only once he's effectively given up on the idea. He no longer believes, Nick.
Yes.
He pretends to believe, but he no longer believes. That's why it's okay to hate on him now.
He's committing sacrilege.
So I don't think anything's right. I don't think anything's actually changed. And I don't think Elkan's opinion of any of this is actually different. He's just now seeing that his drivers have stopped believing.
That's a good way of looking at it. I was thinking about today why Ferrari worshiped John Alesi, who gave them one win and nothing. John Alesi gave them almost nothing. And why they put so much pressure on Michael in the following years, and why they talked a lot of shit about him every time he made mistakes, and why they almost didn't want him there until he started winning. It's because, like you said, Alesi was the perfect Ferrari driver in the sense that he just took the car while acting like everything's great. I love driving for Ferrari while driving shit every weekend. Driving a shit car as best as he could every weekend and never complaining about it. Offered them nothing, but he just loved driving that car even though they got nowhere with him. But when someone takes Ferrari by the reins and says, this is how we're going to do it, they can't stand them. They cannot stand him. And I think that's what Leclerc's offered them nothing for years. And you're right. When he's finally saying, this stinks, it's over. You're not just driving this crappy car as best as you can with a smile on your face, even though you're offering no constructive criticism and no constructive growth forward. You were happy to be a Ferrari driver. Now you're not. And now you can get out. And you're right. So now it's safe. Now it's completely safe for them to take him down because he's not acting like a Ferrari driver.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that leave Hamilton?
Retired.
What a horrible season he's having. It's too bad you and I didn't see this coming at all.
I will still say that I'm willing to give him the season. I'm willing to give him the season as a complete shit show. If he can come back next year and prove that he's been able to work with the team and actually do something with that car. Especially because it's going to be a new car. So I'm not writing off Hamilton's career at Ferrari just yet. I think a lot of people are more pessimistic than I am. We'll see what happens come midway point next year. That's what I'm giving him.
Completely agree. The point is, I think they should not give up on Hamilton. I'm happy they're finally understanding what a mess Leclerc's been. Because you're right. If this is why you hired Hamilton to change the team for the better. You hired him; he's the next Michael, right? You can't judge him off of this. You cannot judge him off of this season. We had a feeling it would happen, you and I. We kind of saw this. We kind of figured it would be a whole new animal for him. And we were worried that age would be the problem. You're right. If it doesn't happen by next year, it's never going to happen because he's just going to keep getting older.
Yep.
And you and I are not going to take articles like the ones about Fernando Alonso and Aston Martin where the media, with no sense of irony, will say, Aston Martin is wasting Fernando Alonso's good years. Father Time did that, actually. He's 44 fucking years old. He's not in his prime. He was in his prime 15 years ago.
Yeah. The only thing Fernando Alonso is good for now is acting like a fucking cork.
What?
I don't know if you caught that in the sprint race. The biggest gap in the field was in front of Fernando Alonso. He's done what he's done multiple times this year and just held people up. He's driven to a pace, and he doesn't care who's in front of him. He makes no attempt to actually get anywhere. And in this case, he got points. He got 3 points in the sprint race. And it really felt like, this is good enough. 3 points is what? Sixth place?
Yeah.
This is all I'm going to achieve. I'm okay. So I'll sit here and not let anybody pass, which is great. Not being able to, or being able to, how the fuck do I say this? Being able to keep people behind you is a skill a racing driver should have. It's part of what made Alain Prost as good as he was. He would drive as slowly as possible to win the race. The difference is Alain Prost was actually winning races. Alonso getting into the lower end of the points and basically saying, okay, this is my spot, and then acting like a cork does absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It makes for a really fucking abysmal race because everybody's just trying to get by and can't, right? Which, okay, if they were better drivers, they'd get by. That's one way to argue it. Sure. But Fernando's not always the cleanest with his defense either, which is a little shitty. So I'll leave that there, right? But that's the other side of it.
The second Aston Martin gets 2 new drivers, I'm all in on that team. All in.
I mean, I'm not sure if you heard the news, but it looks like Newey's cleaning house a little bit on the technical side.
I did see that.
So it makes me wonder how long he's going to wait before he goes after Junior and Alonso.
He won't go after Alonso. I think someone will probably tap Alonso on the shoulder at the behest of Newey to say, hey, you should retire at the end of next year, because they will always spare Fernando's reputation. But I think that was always part of the grander plan to get rid of Lance. I even think Lawrence is in on that. I think it's make the car so good and Lance still doesn't win that you force some comments in the public to get Lawrence to tap Lance on the shoulder. It wouldn't surprise me if Lawrence understood that. Like, unless Lance really steps up, we'll make the car so good that he has to leave.
Yeah, the problem is Lance has proven that when he has a good car, he can actually be decent. Which, if that's the case, I have no problem with him being around. I'm just tired of seeing this complete apathy of him circling the bowl, bumping rookies like Bortoleto off the track and not being penalized for it, and just going fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Outside of his collision with Bortoleto this weekend, I don't know what the fuck he did.
He's finishing like 12th or 13th every race. He's the most Q1 exits out of anybody on the grid.
He's got 0 points since Monza.
Jesus Christ. And before Monza was probably like another 5-6 races.
Well, he had 12 points in 2 races before that, and then he had 2 pointsless finishes, and then another 6 points. So, I mean, he's got 32 points at the moment, which is annoying, because how the fuck does he have 32 points? but it comes from a handful of reasonable places. But other than that, it's fucking zeros.
Yeah, has he got a top 6 finish this year? I don't think
No.
so. No. Everybody else
He
but him.
has 5 points finishes this season.
Oh my god.
He is in 16th place and Alonso's in 11th, and Alonso hasn't done a whole lot.
No, that's been, to me, realistically, like, in terms of where the team is going and what the drivers offer, that's been the worst team of the season. I know the points don't necessarily reflect it, but like at Alpine, they have a bad engine. They're going to have a Mercedes power unit next year. There's optimism. Franco Colapinto is a superstar. He's going to win a million races. So they're looking forward. They're looking like we're building something. At Haas, it seems like Behrman's actually pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason for growth, right? Like, yeah, it's his first season. He has a top 5 finish. He has a top 6 finish. In the future, it'll be good, right? At Racing Bulls, Hajar got a podium. Lawson got a top 5. Where is this going, right? Where are they future Red Bull stars in their first season? That's pretty good, right? Williams, there's optimism. All the other teams at the top, they're building for the future. Aston Martin, it seems like this season, if they weren't here, it wouldn't have made a difference to anybody. Nothing would have changed. The exact same script would have happened if you take that team out. Like, to me, there's no reason for optimism, and their drivers aren't doing anything in the moment. Nothing. So to me, they've been the worst team this season. Just there. They're like what Haas used to be with Grosjean and Magnussen. That's my comparison.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Anything else you want to talk about? Floor is yours.
I want to give Gasly a shout out because he seemed to be absolutely on it this weekend. He made it to Q3.
Yes.
In both the sprint and the GP qualifying, I believe. Got points in both and seemed to actually have legitimate pace. So compared to his teammate, he had a really good weekend. And compared to a number of, let's say, better placed drivers this weekend, he had a really good weekend. So he likes this track, obviously. It does good things for him. And I think he deserves a little bit of credit there.
Yeah, he was good in the sprint too, wasn't he?
Yeah. He took 8th in the sprint and 10th in the GP.
So 2 points for the weekend, which is a lot more than Alpine's gotten in the last little while.
Yes. Wow, it's been a while, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been since Belgium. Since the second last sprint. Yeah.
Yeah, there's reason for optimism with him. In a good car, he will be good because he's solid, consistent. He's never just providing nothing, even in bad weekends. He is a good team leader. You saw this at AlphaTauri. Like he can take control of a bad team. And he probably got an unfair shot at Red Bull, so no one's really thinks of him as a top team driver. But like with a good car next year, which it looks like Alpine might have, he'll be a threat.
I think so. And I just want to note that he's a decent team leader when he doesn't have a strong teammate. Because he failed miserably with Verstappen, and I think the emotional aspect of it gets to him. He didn't do great with Ocon, because I think Ocon and Gasly in the same car created a lot of friction, and we all know how much of a cunt Ocon can be.
Yeah.
But with him and Yuki at AlphaTauri, no one really had expectation for Yuki at that point, so there was no pressure to perform against him. Now against Doohan or Colapinto, there's no pressure either, so it's easy for him to lead. So I don't necessarily know that he's a natural team leader, but he's able to step into that role when it's kind of wide open for him, which I don't fault him for, and it seems to be working for him. with this configuration. So the chassis itself at Alpine doesn't look terrible, but they are underpowered,
Yes.
and they have been underpowered. So they've switched off pretty early. They're not making updates, just like most of the grid. So hopefully all that development work has gone into the 2026 car, and they will get more wind tunnel allocation next year because of this year. So I think you're not far off. He probably could be competitive next year.
Yeah, he's never winning a championship.
No.
But he's going to be a solid driver. Maybe a couple
And if he
podiums.
can put some pressure, and if he can put some pressure on some of the guys that are slacking in the midfield, it's only going to help things.
Mm-hmm. Anything else from this weekend you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah, plenty.
Oh, boy.
Let's see, where was I? I feel bad for Bortoleto.
Yeah.
His first Brazilian Grand Prix, and crashed out of the sprint and crashed out of the race. I think the crash in the sprint was him trying to make some sort of impact in his first weekend, but that definitely didn't help anything. That was a brutal crash. I'm not sure if you caught that in detail.
Yeah, it was, 76G or something like that?
56.
Oh, jeez.
56G, and basically hit the inside wall, then caught air off the lip of the track and straight into the barrier, airborne. So he tried to do what Piastri did on Antonelli. He just didn't get as lucky as Piastri did. So unfortunately, he wasn't able to qualify, and that put him at the back of the pack, and which meant he was in and around Stroll, which is never a good place to be. Especially because Stroll doesn't seem to know what a mirror is.
Doesn't know what anything is at this point.
Right? So I just want to give a shout out to Bortoleto that, he tried. He failed, but he tried.
What is it with Brazilians at this course? Like they cannot get the luck sometimes. Rubens Barrichello 9 DNFs in a row. I don't know if you know that stat.
I'm sure I knew it somewhere in the back of my head. But yeah, it's a bad stat.
Yeah. Since Senna won, it's been a tough one. Well, I guess Massa won in 2008, the Grand Prix, and I think he also won the 2006 Grand Prix. But outside of those, it's just hasn't been good for Brazilians at the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Yeah. No, it's been a rough one.
What else you got?
Behrman.
Yes.
Behrman did good. You can't fault him this weekend for anything.
Nope.
Took 8 points. He's right up there. He was fighting the whole weekend. He was overtaking. He was doing everything he needed to do.
Had a sick overtake on Lawson, I think. Like a legitimately tough one. I saw. That was good. For a good position too, not just for like 13th.
Right. It was points paying positions. They were fighting properly. And he's, it's like we saw in Singapore. Really well executed overtakes with no question of legality. I say that. He did get a penalty in the sprint, which to me was an interesting one because they penalized him and Lawson. And I think this is the one I texted you about, where why did Behrman get the penalty? Because he turned in on Lawson, but Behrman was on the white line on the outside of the track.
Yeah.
Lawson was about to force him off at that point. He had to turn in because he'd be off the track if he didn't.
Yeah,
so what the hell was Lawson doing?
Yeah, you see Lawson miss his corner, right? Like he I think he either understeered or something like that, or slid.
It was probably a little bit of understeer, but Lawson looked to be in control of the car and was just trying to run Behrman out wide to make a defense or to try and gain the corner and put Behrman on the back foot coming out of the corner. So I don't agree with that penalty, but ultimately it was a nothing because the two drivers got penalized for it, which why the fuck bother at that point? If you're going to give both of them a penalty, call it a racing incident, and there you are.
Yeah, especially for like, it was like 17th, 18th or something. Like, who cares? It's not an outlier, is it, Sean? What Behrman's doing after I said that last week after Mexico. This is now part of a full-blown trend where he's taking control of Haas and he's growing with that team.
Yes.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Very impressed.
I am happy to see Haas actually doing something. All right. This means they're not going to follow that trend of low budget new entry teams. I mean, they're not a new entry team anymore, but they've been the newest team for a long time. And it doesn't look like they're going anywhere at this point. They've got investment. They've got a team that seems to be able to develop a car now. They've got a driver who's coming into it.
One.
I said a driver. Ocon needs to disappear.
Yes.
Maybe we see I always fuck this up. Who's the Hirakawa?
Yes.
Maybe we see Hirakawa come in.
That'd be interesting.
Toyota's got a lot of branding on that car these days.
Anything would be better than Ocon at this point. If he's a Toyota pay driver, I'd rather him than Ocon, because just this idea that Esteban Ocon belongs in F1 after this season it's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's done. He's offered him, Alonso, and Stroll to me have been the three worst drivers on the grid.
Yeah,
no question.
Statistically, Colapinto is.
Yeah, but in terms of expectation, all Alonso and Ocon should have been doing more for sure. And yes, statistically Colapinto, but he's special, Sean. So
more ways than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Haas acted like that you're right, that new entry team under Steiner for 7 years. They're not anymore, and now Behrman's all in, acting well, doing well. I'm interested to see how he does next year, because I hope this is not just a flash in the pan.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks good for them.
Yeah, it does. And they're currently tied. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
2 points behind
They are
Austin.
currently in 8th place. Yeah, 2 points behind Aston.
Push Austin
which is
down.
interesting because Behrman is tied with Alonso. They're both on 40 points.
Oh, wow, he's at 40 now. Amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Give me one more, and then we'll call it a night. Unless you got none.
Let's see here quickly. No, I think I got nothing. I mean, we're in the Constructors. Racing Bulls has a slight chance of catching Williams if Williams has a bunch of bad weekends like they've been having. But other than that, it's still the 6 to 9 positions that are fighting. 6, 7, 8, 9. So we'll get a good close out to the year on the Constructors of that range. But
Yeah,
I got nothing else then.
1 point in that medley, like 10th place will make the difference there. So like the 6 to 10, watch those positions through the for the rest of the season. Sorry, go on.
No, just to keep in mind that the Constructors is both drivers, right?
Yeah.
So if you're getting 2 drivers into the points, that's a massive swing at this point for the Constructors.
Yes. I don't think we've seen the end of Racing Bulls, and it doesn't look like we've seen the end of Haas.
No.
So Aston Martin could get ugly for them. So, yeah.
Yeah. If Haas can get Ocon into the points, so if Haas gets both drivers into the points, at a bare minimum, it's 3 points, right?
Yeah.
They pass Aston Martin.
Yes. Let's see it happen. I don't even care if it ruins my predictions. I'm done with Aston Martin. Get him out of there. Second, it's getting interesting now. Looks like Mercedes is going to run away with it by the trajectory of Antonelli right now. The battle for P2 in the Constructors, yeah. And it looks like Ferrari's going to have to look at third with Red Bull, which Max might do that single-handedly.
Max has already got it. I don't think Ferrari's coming back.
Wow.
We are 12 points, which, yeah, should be doable. But no, I don't think it's going to happen.
I can see Max winning out the next 3 races, but it might still not be enough. Abu Dhabi will be tough, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That's our Brazil Grand Prix recap. We'll be back after Vegas.
No.
Sean, yeah, I know. Sean, you enjoy yourself. We'll talk after.
Yep.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.